Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 10, Identity Crisis, and Episode 11, Point of No Return. So we got one great episode following Dr. Emery Carr, followed by another nightmare scenario in Pabu. Let's break down all the Star Wars Easter eggs and animation details you missed from these two episodes. And this video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes launching your own website a breeze. We open on this mountain village that looks inspired by real-world Nepal or maybe Tibet. Just the design of this setting is so incredible. It's covered in what appears to be Tibetan prayer flags. These are used to bless the surrounding countryside in this part of the world, as well as just for decorations for trails. I was actually thinking that this planet might be Kijimi, which was seen in The Rise of Skywalker. It was the home of Carrie Russell's character Zori Bliss and hey, Babu Frick! But the architecture is a little different. Like, we don't see the rough carved stones that most of the city on Kijimi was built out of, so, you know, it might be a new planet. But we see this mother taking her child to market, but the child uses the force to push over this vase, probably reaching for the doll and just pushing the vase way too hard to send it flying. So the mom hurries her child away, and the residents know better than to call it in because, you know, that would bring trouble. But an Auskelis calls in a Class 1 bounty hunter. We learned a few episodes ago that all the M-count bounties are going to Class 1 hunters. But, you know, between this and the bad territory bar fight with the Auskelis have not had great representation this season. And the Book of Boba Fett, they weren't cast in the best light either. Is it problematic if there is a Star Wars race across multiple settings and they're all dirtbags? But notice how they give the Auskelis here a Russian accent, which, you know, just kind of feels like the one nationality these days that movies and TV feel okay stereotyping as villain characters. But back on Tantus, Dr. Hemlock stares into what sounds like this tank, though we don't see what he is looking at. It's probably Project Necromancer related, but it might be the larger animal clones that Hemlock referenced back in episode 1 that I always thought was a Mythosaur clone Jurassic Park operation. Mando Dino DNA. But notice how this chamber has windows to the outside of Tantus, so it's not the same Sith-themed chamber that Palpatine visited before. Hemlock is holding this data pad and what appears to be the image of a clone assassin on it. This is likely the other operative he is preparing. Dr. Emery Carr applies to the chief scientist role that Nala Se's imprisonment has left vacant. Hemlock grants her access to the vault, and Carr is given responsibility over the specimens within this vault, which are revealed to be a trio of children with high M counts. And with the red, blue, green color scheme of these three, it's not just video screen colors, but it is a real Alvin Simon Theodore theme going on here. The red-skinned one, Eva, is an Iktachi race, which is the same as Jedi Master Saesee Tin, and the green-skinned male Jax is a Marialan, the same race as Luminar Unduli, Barriss Offee, and the High Republic era coming in the Acolyte character Vernestra Rowe. The blue-skinned kid I was wondering might be a Pantoran like Senator Chuchi, or Baron Papanoida, George Lucas's character in the prequels. These holographic tests that they're doing look like 3D puzzles and way less fun than the fruit balancing, flower hunting, squid taming field tests that Asajj put Omega through in the previous episode. I wonder if this seemingly academic exercise might be like the repetitive task of the prisoners on Narkina 5 and Andor, and in addition to keep these Project Necromancer kids' minds just distracted, they're also doing some like wax on, wax off, Ender's Game training to make these kids Imperial cadets, strategists, and seekers of Death Star design flaws. Emery asks why children are used, and Hemlock tells her that there are very few adult specimens with high M counts left remaining, and children are easier to control and manipulate. And Hemlock says that they need Omega's blood as a bonding agent, and that's why she has to be captured alive. But really the point of this is that there are very few adults left, which is testimony to how effective the Empire's purging of the Jedi has been. Force-sensitive adults are either dead at this point or turn into Inquisitors. But notice how these kids' feet dangle from all their chairs and from their bedsides, meaning that this room was designed for adult subjects, and previously Hemlock went through all of those adult subjects before failing and having to resort to kids. I'm just saying, if this were designed for kids, it would have been like, you know, preschool size. You know, itty bitty tables with itty bitty chairs that tuck into their itty bitty crayon castles. But this Mary Allen kid, Jax, SP32, watches the tablet and the code that Hemlock punches into the panel. Smart kid, taking notes. Class 1 bounty hunter Cad Bane returns, stunning this mom before she can hit him with the snow shovel. They include this little moment of fear and hesitation from the mom, showing this is the moment that Cad uses to get the quick draw on her. We last saw Cad Bane in animated form in season 1 of Bad Batch when he and Fennec Shand were fighting over Omega for their respective clients, but Lucasfilm brought him into live action in the Book of Boba Fett, losing a duel on Tatooine against Din Djarin, but a light was left blinking on his chest, so presumably he will still be alive in the later New Republic era. But here we're in the Age of the Empire, so he is at the top of his game. Presumably Cad Bane got that Class 1 status since his appearance in the Clone Wars Children of the Force arc when he used a stolen Jedi holocron to locate Force-sensitive kids in a plot for Darth Sidious to create an army of dark side using kids, which now in retrospect seems like the seeds of Project Necromancer. Cad is really the guy for this awful job. Cad's droid assistant Toto also returns to test his child.
That'll do.
That'll do? He quotes the line from Babe?
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
They put this kid in this angular bassinet with the 3 lights on the front. While the shape of the bassinet is unlike the egg shape of the one that Mando found Grogu inside of in The Mandalorian, the 3 lights do match the 3 buttons on the front of Grogu's carrier. The Mary Island kid Jax makes a break for it, grabbing the tablet and sprinting for the door, but the vault goes into lockdown with red lights and this familiar Imperial siren. The fact that it all lights up red reminds us of when the prison in Arcana 5 goes on lockdown and they told him that the floor was electrified, when really that was just like a falseness that they put on all those prisoners. I'm wondering if they thought about doing it to these kids, but these kids with their high M counts would just be too smart to be fooled like that. They stun this poor kid and Emery is like, too far. Jax is inspected by a Chihuahua medical droid. These are a relatively rare model that have only made a few appearances throughout Clone Wars episodes. Emery assures Eva that Jax won't be in trouble, and Nala Se in her prison cell tells Emery that she's not totally powerless in this situation. Governor Tarkin returns in a holocall to Hemlock asking about the funding increase to Project Necromancer and asking about what this project is, but Hemlock is like, classified. But it's interesting how Tarkin's always obsessed with directing all funding within the Empire to his Death Star project, and he wants to know what this project is because, like he did with Orson Krennic, he probably wants to take it over and take all the credit for it. But the fact that he's mad about the budget line items right now is also why he bristles against Thrawn's operation to build those special TIE models on Lothal in the Rebels series. We get a closer shot of the same screen we saw earlier of this clone assassin on Hemlock's tablet. Before he tabs over to the readout of the assassin who attacked Rex in the Bad Batch, we see that this new assassin has a different helmet design and what might be a jetpack. We also see on the screen how an arm was detached. I still feel pretty good about the theory that this clone assassin may be tech, because you know they keep bringing back like pieces of tech's classes. They don't want us to forget about tech, and like, yeah, I think it could be tech. Anyway, Hemlock calls the clone assassin who reports pulling info from a female Trandoshan about a pirate, obviously referring to Fee, but the Trandoshan I think refers to Sidara and Scaleback, the information broker from season 1 and season 2. So like, I think we're worried about that Trandoshan now. So Emery meets Cad Bane on the space station that orbits Coruscant, which is reminiscent of the ones we saw in Star Wars Rebels and are typically used by the Empire for construction purposes or orbital command centers. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the thought of starting your own website, but starting your own website is even easier thanks to Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that provides you with everything you need to do whatever you need with your website. For instance, Squarespace makes it easy to sell merch. You can design your products and then save time and money by letting Squarespace handle production, inventory, and shipping. And if you're selling any other kind of physical goods, digital goods, or even a service, Squarespace makes it easy to build your storefront and grow your business. Squarespace has a massive asset library with everything you could possibly need, whether you're building your first website or polishing up one you've already got. Squarespace makes it super easy to customize your look, update content, and add features to make your website work exactly the way you want it to. Just head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/newrockstars to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Cad rocks a toothpick in his mouth, looking like Crosshair, maybe Crosshair looking like Cad Bane, and then Emery cringes at this child's age.
Problem.
This specimen is younger than I expected.
Yeah, we're reminded of Mando Din Djarin's initial reaction to seeing Grogu in one of these things.
They said 50 years old.
Emery asks,
And where did this child come from?
Asking questions like that, you give away more than you think.
I like that Cad already sees through Emery's little adjustment in the line before to the word specimen from what she was really wanting to say of child, and he just knows a softie when he sees one, but he leaves her with just this little advice to keep up her deception, but also threatens her by saying, I see where you're really at, and it's gonna come at a cost one day for you. Emery learns Jax has been put into isolation for 2 rotations following his escape attempt. This has also caused Eva to be disappointed in Emery, as she promised that Jax wouldn't be in trouble. Emery toggles on her tablet through Eva, Jax, and Omega, and Jax's 3 biometric stats might correspond to the stats of stamina, speed, and strength that we saw back in Season 3, Episode 1. But in this instance, I think the order goes strength, then stamina, and then speed, and poor Jax, speed is the lowest for him, which might be why he wasn't fast enough to escape. But Omega's stats are higher for all 3 categories. So recalling Omega, Emery fishes out the old straw Tuca doll that Omega made for herself back in the first episode of the season. Emery kept it, and she leaves it outside Eva's cell, a decision that puts Emery in open defiance of what Hemlock warned her of, not to get attached. But given Nala Se couldn't help but feel this way about her specimens either, it just shows us that love finds a way. In general, I have to hand it to composer Kevin Kiner, along with the collaborators and family members Sean Kiner and Deanna Kiner, for using some haunting bell chimes to make it sound like Emery's icy cold heart in this episode was melting throughout the minutes. Okay, on to Season 3, Episode 11, Point of No Return. So Fee Genoa refuels at this moon depot. Ollie the droid comes out through a door marked an Aurebesh depot hangar. Not to be, a jerk about this, but the proper spelling for an aircraft or spacecraft hangar would be Hangar, not ER. Hanger is an object for hanging clothes, right? Now, I would say something snobby here, like, if you want to be an animator, go to CalArts, SCAD, or RISD, but if you want to learn to copy edit, go to UF School of Journalism. But, I'm also the guy who tweeted, Joe Mufasa. So instead I'll say that this must just be a pun name for the bar that's on the other side of the store. Like Depot Hanger, and then maybe they got bottles of spotchka hanging from the ceiling. See, I fixed it. Okay, so Phoebe rates her droid, Mel.
The next time I give you an order to scour through the green goo, you scour through the green goo.
Which is a real Scott Farkas tone there, Fee.
Listen, jerk, when I tell you to come, you better come.
But she promises to rebuild him like after Andro Prime and Scaranal. Scaranal was the planet from Season 2, Episode 5, Entombed, where Fee and the Bad Batch went in search of a lost treasure and ended up awakening a giant ancient superweapon. Andro Prime would be a new planet, but I wonder if Wanda Sykes mispronounced Ando Prime, just A-N-D-O, which is an ice planet that first appeared in the Episode 1 Racer game. As they head inside, Fee says,
Who cares if your pants don't match? Healthy body work shows grit.
Yeah, it's fun to think of this line in context of C-3PO, who between his silver leg in the original trilogy and his red arm in Force Awakens, that guy definitely shows more grit than most droids we've met. But the clone assassin sneaks aboard V's ship and downloads navigation coordinates that are encrypted. The Aurebesh is all encrypted here, but here we did translate the numbers and letters. But the clone assassin smartly highlights a number of these and I suppose triangulates them to locate the outer rim planet of Pabu that way. I'm telling you, this clone assassin is a smarty pants. He has the kind of brain that Tech has. Back on Pabu, Wrecker asks Hunter,
but at least bring me back an ice cone. No, make it 2.
I just realized after 3 seasons that Wrecker is essentially Gary Busey's character from Point Break.
Utah, give me 2.
In this market, we see vendors scooping ice cones, and the first 2 we see are the young clones of the 3 that Hunter and Wrecker met back on the Jungle Planet in Season 3, Episode 2, Paths Unknown. But it sounds like they don't get any speaking lines this episode, maybe because they didn't want to give Julian Dennison or Daniel Logan, who played young Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones, any vocal cameos this episode, which is a shame, but at least we get to see them again. Liana Hazard takes Omega and Batcher into the family treasure room. Batcher looks at this skull that I'm pretty sure is just that of a fellow Lurka Hound, but it could be a small mudhorn, but mudhorns are usually way bigger. On this shelf is a golden cup that I wanted to say looks like the Holy Grail from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but this is much more golden and might be like one of the other grails, one of the he chose poorly options. In terms of the actual Holy Grail, Admiral Thrawn has the Holy Grail on the Chimera among his treasures. Omega adds to these treasures Tech's broken eyepieces along with her plush Tuca doll. The clone assassin arrives to Pabu and the Aurebesh on his screen reads, target tracked, cloaking initiated, system cloaked. And then this last one seems like gibberish, but it's actually one of the encrypted navigation coordinates that he got from Fee's computer, 52837 MJDRE. The clone assassin lands in the same water cave that Asajj Ventress landed on covertly in Season 3, Episode 9, The Harbinger. It's kind of like this is where you land when you want to be sneaky. The sun is low and dark clouds hang over the island. Basically, the fog that we saw in Episode 9 is still lingering, providing cover. After spying on Hunter and Wrecker in the market and locating Omega, the assassin transmits a signal back to his base in the Aurebesh. At this point, reads transmitting. Hunter and Omega and Wrecker say goodbye to Shep and Liana, but the assassin shoots some latch explosives on the Marauder, and Wrecker, as the explosives expert of this group, sees them just in time, and he takes a moment to save Gonki. What a guy! But R.I.P. the Marauder. Thank goodness Omega got Tech's glasses and the Tuca doll off that ship before it blew up, because I was like, oh wait, I guess there's not really anything else on there that we'll miss. So Hunter deploys the clone boys of Deke, Mox, and Stack to help, but oh shit, the visual I wanted last week, the triangular hull of an Imperial ship cuts through the clouds over Babu and deploys these ground troops. There's a particular musical leitmotif that I want to point out here. This is almost exactly John Williams' melody for the Kylo Ren theme from the sequel trilogy. Now, I know sections of the Star Wars fandom cringe at any reference to the sequel trilogy, but there is no denying that the musical compositions John Williams created for Rey and for Kylo absolutely rock, and I don't blame Kevin Kiner for echoing it here. The Imperial forces light up the island, and Mayor Shep snaps at the assassin.
You can't just barge in here.
I've barely done anything yet.
Oof. Cold, what a threat! The people of Pabu get the Imperial treatment, dragged out of their houses, and Hunter goes to work, taking out a few stormtroopers, using a crate to shield himself, and then uses that sliding crate's momentum that's being slid from the recoil of the blaster fire to surf it and then jump from it to board the LAAT gunship. But the clone assassin gets off an impressive sniper shot on that pilot, one of his own guys, a shot that you know makes Crosshair jealous and really shows up his big whiff at the end of this episode. Omega pulls a Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi and surrenders herself to the dark side to get the Imperials to stop attacking the innocents here. The clone assassin confiscates her comm tracker, meaning it's all gonna come down to Crosshair's ability to shoot a backup tracker on the assassin's ship, and in the moment of truth, airball. But you know what? Failure is okay, Crosshair, because notice in these final seconds, we stay with Omega on the ship. She seems to just know that Crosshair missed. She takes some deep meditative breaths, just like the one she counseled Crosshair to do, and the type of meditation she said she learned from the Wookiee Jedi Gunji. And she seems at peace. And I think the reason these two episodes were aired as a double episode drop was because Omega's ace in the hole is the impression she left on her clone sister, Dr. Emery Carr, back on Tantis. And that doctor has her back, because she's also a doll girl. A huge thanks to Noah Chen for helping me write and research this breakdown. Follow me at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars, and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching, bye.